Performing femininity is like being an actress in your own life. It's exhausting, expensive, and it never feels like enough. But when you live femininity, it becomes so effortless and magnetic it almost feels unfair. Here's the truth nobody's talking about. Femininity has become another hustle, another mask we wear to be chosen, admired, or validated. We were conditioned to think femininity is something to earn through beauty, approval, or control. But real femininity doesn't need an audience. You're out here curating softness and elegant lifestyle. Meanwhile, your nervous system is screaming. And darling, that's not femininity. That's survival. We've turned womanhood into a full-time production. Rehearsed smiles, curated aesthetics, perfectly designed everything. If you've ever felt drained, broke, or unseen, no matter how feminine you try to look. If you've ever wondered why you're doing all of this and it still doesn't feel like enough, this video is going to change how you see yourself forever. Because the moment you stop performing for the world, start living from your spirit, everything starts chasing you. And I'm about to show you exactly how to make that shift. And when I say performing femininity, I'm talking about that constant awareness of being watched. The mental checklist before you even step out of your door. Does this outfit look elegant enough? Is my voice soft enough? Do I seem approachable but not desperate? Because God forbid. It's like living under invisible stage lights 24/7. Except there is no applause. Just exhaustion. And the ticket price? Girl, it's steep. Everything goes down the drain. Your peace, your energy, your bank balance, and worst of all, your sense of self. But when you live femininity, it becomes so effortless and magnetic it almost feels unfair. Because suddenly you're not even trying. You just are. And that's when it gets fun. Your softness becomes your superpower, not just your strategy. Let me tell you a story. There was a time that my femininity looked flawless on the outside. I was dating a man who put me on a pedestal. And at first I thought, this is nice. At first I thought I was winning. It sounds flattering on paper. Until you realize you're not a person anymore. You're simply a display. He was pretentious and acted like he was superior to everyone. And every time I was with him, I felt like I had to be perfect. Every moment with him felt like an audition I couldn't afford to fail. Now, I'm someone who genuinely enjoys taking care of myself, whether that's my maintenance, my appearance, my health, my self-care, all of it. That's always been part of who I am. But when I was with him, it began to feel so different. It wasn't about pleasure anymore. It was pressure. I had to be on 10 all the time. No days off. No messy hair. No lazy Sundays. Just perfection rehearsed to the minute. Everything began to feel so forced. It wasn't fun anymore. It was just performance. And here's the wild part. People usually love spending time with their boyfriends, right? But me, I couldn't wait. I couldn't wait to get away from him. And I know that sounds awful. But hear me out. I remember spending 3 hours getting ready for a casual dinner because I knew he'd notice every single detail. I'd rehearsed conversations in my head, editing out anything that felt too messy, too human, too real. What a shame. Being with him drains me mentally and physically. I relished every single moment I had to myself. But he always wanted more of my time, more of me. And eventually, my body started breaking down. I was constantly sick, exhausted. My skin was breaking out. But I kept pushing through it because I thought, that's what, it meant to be a good girlfriend. So I thought. Side notes, always, always, always prioritize yourself. Okay? This good girlfriend trope is for someone else. Leave that for someone else. It's not for you. It definitely isn't for me. Being a good girlfriend means being me and just existing. Not putting on a show of any sort. Anyway, back to our story. Like I said, this was performance at its peak. Because every time I was around him, I could feel my energy slowly dying. I started dreading our dates, counting down the hours until I can finally be alone. Just so I can take my shoes off, put my hair up, and do absolutely nothing. But at least I can breathe again. You ever felt that? When someone's presence feels like work. Then one day it hit me. Thank God for that. I was in the mirror halfway through another 3-hour getting ready session, and I just stopped. I looked at myself and I thought, when did my maintenance become a chore? And who plus why am I doing all of this for? And that was my wake-up call. I realized I was performing femininity for his gaze, not my joy. I was living as the idea of the perfect woman, not the truth of the woman God made me to be. And that realization, honestly, it stung. It really did. Because I'd built this whole illusion of control, thinking that if I looked perfect enough, he'd love me deeper. Spoiler, he didn't. So I slowly started pulling back. Less availability, less makeup, less effort in trying to prove I was worthy. I started choosing me again. I did my walks, my rituals, my quiet mornings. Not to be seen, but to feel whole. When we finally broke up, the relief was instant. Oh, my God. Like I could finally exhale again after holding my breath for months. My skin cleared, my energy came back, my creativity came alive again. And that's when I realized my body had been rejecting him and this whole performance, this whole charade, long before my mind even caught up. That's why I was constantly sick while we were together. Can you imagine? I was literally getting sick from pretending. Huh? Wow. Have you ever realized that your body has been rejecting a life that you kept forcing yourself to perform? And in truth, a lot of us aren't embodying femininity. We're simply marketing it. We're trying to look healed instead of being free. That's the trap of performed femininity. It's the illusion of softness curated for validation. It's doing everything right on the outside while feeling completely disconnected on the inside. At that time, I wasn't a woman in her divine era. I was performing a woman who looked confident, not becoming one who felt it. And trust me, there's a difference. And no matter how good I looked, it never felt like enough because it wasn't rooted in truth. We've literally turned femininity into an aesthetic, a checklist of candlelit baths, silk robes, and soft voices. But girl, you can literally be whispering and still be in survival mode. I feel like social media created the perfect quintessential feminine influencer template with things like soft girl morning routines, hyper feminine glam, talking about being chosen. But underneath, many women still feel anxious, burnt out, and disconnected. In reality, what's happening is you lose your authenticity. You become disconnected from your intuition. Your self-worth becomes conditional based on how well you play the part. You see the pattern here? When femininity becomes a performance, softness turns into strategy. And that's not power. That's pressure in a pink dress. When you're performing femininity, you walk into a room thinking, oh, do I look feminine enough? On the other hand, when you're embodying femininity, you walk in knowing that your energy already changed the room. One comes from fear, the other comes from faith. See, performing femininity isn't about being feminine. It's about fear. Fear of not being chosen. Fear of being too much or not enough. Fear of being unseen unless we sparkle. But here's the plot twist. The more you perform, the further you drift from the real thing. Because real femininity isn't found in how you look. It's felt in how you live. Real femininity isn't something you do. It's what happens when you stop forcing. When you live from your spirit instead of your script, everything changes. Your posture, your peace, your presence. You start moving slower, but manifesting faster. Because your energy is clean, your intentions are pure, and your faith is grounded. Some of you, let's be honest, are trying to manifest softness while running on caffeine and chaos. Let's be real. What I need you to remember is that femininity is not a TikTok aesthetic. It's an energetic frequency. Here's a contrast you need to understand. Performance is external, image focused, and fragile, while embodiment is internal, energy rooted, and stable. Embodiment is peace. You no longer need to be chosen because you've chosen yourself. When it's performed, it needs an audience. When it's lived, it needs only you. That breakup taught me that femininity isn't about imitation. It's about integrity and integration. And once I learned that lesson, everything changed. Now let's talk about the invisible price you pay when you perform instead of live. Because this isn't just about feeling tired, mind you. It's about what performing costs you long term. Here's the bill you pay every time you perform instead of live. The first hidden cost is the emotional cost. It's the fatigue of always curating and never resting. You're constantly anxious. You never feel like enough. You're always self-editing. You lose the ability to just exist without wondering if you're doing femininity right. You know that tightness in your chest or in your throat when you're trying to look soft but feel anxious on the inside? That's the tax you pay for performing femininity. Or that feeling you get when you're home alone and you can finally exhale. That's because you've been holding your breath all day trying to be someone you're not. Let it out. Breathe. Let go of the pretense. It's not serving you. Remember, if you're out here curating softness while your nervous system is screaming, that, my friend, that is not femininity. That's survival. The second hidden cost is the identity cost. You lose your real voice, your real desires, your spontaneity. You become an echo of expectations instead of the sound of your own soul. There was a time that I completely stopped listening to all the music that I loved because it wasn't feminine enough. That's definitely a yikes moment right there. These days, I practice balance. There's a time and place for everything. I remember I also stopped expressing opinions that felt too strong. I dimmed myself down so much that I forgot what brightness even felt like. The truth is, the more you perform, the less you remember who you are. Honestly, all I can say is thank God for growth, honestly. If you're unsure if you're performing femininity instead of living it, ask yourself this. Who am I when no one's watching? Do I still feel feminine then? Or do I need the world's validation to remind me that I'm enough? The third hidden cost is the financial cost. Now, this one deserves nuance. Because yes, investing in yourself and your image is essential to your growth. When done from self-worth, those choices, therapy, wellness, journaling, skin, or styling becomes acts of alignment, not approval. They elevate your energy, confidence, and presence. But here's the trap. When investment turns into overcompensation, industry-driven femininity tries to convince you that your value only increases when you spend on new outfits, endless products, and the next aesthetic trend. And that mindset, that will empty your wallet and your spirit. Performing femininity is the most expensive unpaid role on this earth. I said it, yes. Don't be an unpaid actor. Leave that for other people. You deserve better. The truth is, meaningful investment in your image doesn't drain your peace. It supports it. Because the goal isn't to buy femininity. It's to enhance it through choices that honor your current season, your values, your joy. So keep investing, but do it with grounded discernment. Choose things that make you feel in flow, not in debt. Femininity expands through intentional investment, not impulsive consumption. The fourth hidden cost is your time and energy. You spend hours fixing your reflection instead of reflecting, rehearsing how to be perceived instead of living with purpose. The woman you could have become is buried under the woman you think you have to be. Think about all the time you spent overthinking your appearance, your words, your behavior. What could you have created with that energy instead? The fifth hidden cost are your relationships. When you perform, you attract people who love the mask, not the woman underneath. You end up in dynamics built on performance instead of intimacy. That's why I kept attracting men who loved the idea of me, but didn't actually know me. Because I wasn't showing them me, I was showing them a character. The sixth hidden cost is the spiritual cost. This is the deepest one. Every time you choose performance over presence, you disconnect from the divine, the real source of your magnetism. You can't be in your divine flow when you're constantly editing yourself for approval. You can't hear God's word when you're constantly performing for the world. Real femininity is knowing that God's got you so deeply that you don't need to hustle, prove, or chase. You become magnetic by resting in your divine work. Remember, performing drains your life force and living gives it back to you. So what does it actually mean to live femininity instead of performance? Femininity is a frequency, not a facade. It's trust, it's radiance, it's inner stillness. The core qualities are self-worth, receptivity, grace, faith, and peace. When you live femininity, you don't need to act soft. You can even have a husky voice if you want. Your energy already speaks and exudes softness, strength, and surrender all at once. It's not how you look, it's how you rest in your worth. If you've ever felt empty, no matter how good you looked, it's because femininity was never meant to be worn. It was meant to be lived. A journal prompt you can ask yourself is, if no one ever complimented your beauty again, would you still feel beautiful? Now let's clear up some misconceptions. The first myth is that femininity is about looking delicate and speaking softly. The truth is that femininity is about being present in your body and trusting your intuition. The second myth is that you have to dress a certain way to be feminine. The truth, however, is that femininity is an energy, not an outfit. The third myth is that feminine women don't speak up or set boundaries. The truth is that real femininity has a backbone. It's soft with structure, not soft with surrender. The fourth and most irritating myth is that femininity is for attracting men. The truth is that femininity is for you. It's how you honor yourself, not how you perform for others. Now let's talk about what living femininity looks like. It's waking up and choosing what feels good, not what looks good. It's setting boundaries without guilt. It's receiving compliments with grace and not deflection. It's moving through your day with presence and not performance. It's soft, but it's not small. It's gentle, but it has a backbone. It's multidimensional, just like you. The key point to remember is that living a soft life isn't an aesthetic. It's a nervous system regulation strategy. Let's talk about the internal shifts that change everything. Because you can't fake these, you have to feel them. The first is the self-concept shift. You stop chasing approval and start embodying self-worth. You realize, I don't have to look like her. I just have to honor me. Femininity flourishes in self-acceptance, not comparison. The moment you stop looking at other women as competition and start seeing them as inspiration, your energy will completely shift. Ask yourself daily, am I doing this because I want to or because I think I should? That question will save you so much energy. Remember, stop performing to be chosen and start embodying that you're already chosen by God. The second internal shift is having trust and receptivity. Here's the thing, performing femininity comes from control. Living it comes from trust. Trusting yourself, trusting God. Trust that your energy already attracts what's meant for you. Remember, faith is the feminine superpower. It's letting God handle whatever your control issues can't. It's knowing God's got you, so you can finally stop auditioning for life. When you stop trying to control how people perceive you, and you start trusting that the right people will see you, everything gets easier. You stop forcing conversations, connections, and outcomes. Receptivity is feminine power. It's saying, I'm open to receiving love, opportunities, blessings. And most importantly, I don't have to earn them. The third internal shift is having soft power. Let's redefine strength through grace. Soft doesn't mean small. It means secure enough to move gently. Think about water. It's soft, but it shapes mountains over time. That's feminine power. You don't have to be loud to be powerful. You don't have to be hard to hold your ground. Remember, grace isn't weakness. It's restraint seasoned with self-respect. The day I stopped performing, I realized I no longer needed to act feminine. It started radiating from me naturally. In how I spoke, how I walked, and how I responded to life. It wasn't a performance anymore. It was peace. And that peace became my power. Here's the contrast that changes the game. People respond differently when you're grounded and not seeking. The energy of a woman who lives femininity is calm, radiant, and certain. She's not competing. She's creating. I noticed that immediately after my breakup, men started approaching me more. Not because I was trying harder, but because I stopped trying at all. My friendships became stronger and more intentional. Opportunities started flowing in. Why? Because magnetism comes from wholeness, not effort. That's why people call it delulu. Because genuine peace looks suspicious. You become magnetic because you're aligned, not because you're perfect. This is divine energy in action. You're not trying to prove anything. You're simply being. And that's what makes people lean in. When you're no longer performing, you're no longer depleting yourself. Your energy stays full, which means you have more to give from a place of overflow, not obligation. If you've watched any of my other videos, you know that I love to give you guys practical steps that you can actually follow. And this video is no different. So let's make this real with rituals you can start today. Remember, these aren't rules, they're invitations back to yourself. The first ritual is a mirror shift. Dress for yourself, not the male gaze. Before you walk out the door, ask yourself, do I like how I feel in this? Or do I just like how I'll be seen in this? That question changes everything and puts things in perspective. What truly matters is that you feel like you. An action step you can take is to clean out your closet. Remove anything you only wear to impress others. Keep what makes you feel alive. The second ritual is having a soft spine, which means having a graceful posture, a gentle tone, and a powerful presence. Essentially, it's having softness with a backbone. This isn't about fixing how you move. It's about moving with intention and integrity. Slow down by 10%. Soften your shoulders. Lift your chin. Speak from your center, not your nervousness. An action step you can take is to practice the pause. Before responding in conversations, take a breath. Let yourself be still. Presence is magnetic. The third ritual is receiving. Practice openness daily. Accept compliments, help, or blessings without guilt and deflection. Next time someone compliments you, just say thank you. Receiving is the purest form of feminine power. It says, I'm worthy. An action step you can take is, for 1 week, practice receiving without deflecting. Notice how hard it is at first. Then notice how empowering it becomes. The fourth ritual is sacred silence. Carve out time in your day for journaling, reflection, and prayer. Stillness is where your femininity breathes. It's where you reconnect with God, with your intuition, and your natural rhythm. In stillness, you stop reacting and start responding. You stop performing and start being. An action step you can take is carve out 15 minutes every morning of silence. No phone, no music, no distractions. Just you and your thoughts. The fifth ritual is the pleasure audit. Ask yourself, what brings me genuine joy? Not just Instagram-worthy moments. An action step you can take is, make a list of 10 things that replenish your life force. Then schedule at least one per day. This is how you rebuild trust with yourself, by prioritizing what actually feels good. The sixth and final ritual is to always have an emergency toolkit. Because in reality, sometimes you'll slip back into performance mode. That's normal. Here's what to do when you catch yourself. First, pause and breathe. Second, ask, who am I doing this for? Third, recalibrate. Ask, what would feel true to me right now? Fourth, always choose yourself, even if it feels uncomfortable. This practice will rewrite your nervous system over time. Here's what I need you to remember. Performing femininity drains you. Living it liberates you. Imagine waking up tomorrow, not rehearsing how to look feminine, but simply moving through your day, knowing that you already are. Imagine choosing your outfit based on how it feels, and not how it photographs. Imagine speaking your truth without editing yourself first. That's the shift from performance to embodiment. That's the power of living your femininity so fast, it almost feels like cheating. You don't need to perform anymore. You just need to come home to yourself. And when you do, the world will meet you there. So start with one ritual this week, just one. Maybe it's the mirror shift. Maybe it's the stillness practice. Or maybe it's simply saying thank you when someone compliments you. Small shifts create massive transformation when you stay consistent. Remember, you don't need to perform your worth. You just need to remember who you are. You are the embodiment of an answered prayer. If you're ready to go deeper into your soft power, watch my previous video on 15 daily micro habits that make you more feminine. And see you in the next video.